My guest today is an amazing guitarist, singer, songwriter, composer, and producer who's responsible for songs like Owner of a Lonely Heart and Changes as a member of Yes. He recently regrouped with John Anderson and Rick Wakeman for the ARW tour, which kicks off in October in Orlando, Florida. I'm extremely thrilled to welcome Trevor Rabin.
Hi, Roy. How you doing?
Well, thank you for giving me a few minutes, man. I appreciate it. I know you're busy.
No problem at all.
So you're in the studio right now, I guess? Are you working on new music? What are you doing?
Yeah, we just actually just finished off some film stuff, just getting stuff tied up before we start getting on this tour.
Well, listen, let me quickly just say, I discovered Yes from your era with the band. 90125 was the first Yes album I ever listened to. So,
oh, wow.
And your solo album, Can't Look Away, is one of my all-time favorites. So,
well, thank you very much for that.
So, I just want to thank you for not only coming back and doing a reunion, but for giving me a few minutes to talk about it, which is really exciting. Let me go back a little bit, and I just want to find out, how did this start, and how many times was it attempted to get you back with John? There were always rumors every other year, so what happened that it finally happened?
Well, there was quite some time when, years ago, when they were asking me to come back, after I had left for a number of years, but I was busy doing film and really had no interest in it, and then John somehow, something happened and he was out the band, he got ill or something, and they fired him, and there was some animosity and stuff went on. I don't know what it was. I was so far removed from it, I really had no idea what was going on. But every now and then, Chris Squire would call me saying, "You got to come back to the band. You got to come back to the band." And I was just always kind of busy with the film stuff and just loving it, and I really had no interest whatsoever. Although, our friendship, Chris and I, the friendship never changed. Right till the day he died, we were still, like brothers, and that really never went away. But there were a couple of moments where the manager would call me, and we went for dinner a couple of times with Chris and Alan and everybody, and just almost to be polite, and never got involved. And then about 3 years ago, John started calling me, and actually started attending some of my orchestra sessions for the films, which he seemed to enjoy, and he came to quite a number of them, and we started becoming a little more friendly, and on the other side, from the minute I started playing with Rick Wakeman to the last date of the Union tour, the most enjoyable thing about that whole tour was Rick and I meeting and playing together. We just had a ball and vowed to play together again at some point. And in fact, he did a solo album some years ago, and I played and sang on it, and we've just always wanted to work together. So then when this thing, Chris passed away, and everyone was very sad, and it just kind of naturally, because we'd been talking about it much more seriously, me, Rick, and John, than any kind of consideration I might have or might not have given to Yes. But particularly when John left the band, I just thought Yes without John is, just call it something else. I didn't see the point.
Right.
But, eventually after saying to John and Rick, I'd love to do it, but I'm busy, and then Rick was busy, and then John was busy, eventually we decided, okay, look, we got to discipline ourselves. We either going to do it or it's not going to happen. And it just seemed to be the right time, and it just, it was perfect storm. It just all fell into place at the right time.
Was the initial idea now to just do a tour, and then I heard there is some music, but it might not be ready before the tour. How's that all going along?
Yeah, it really started off without any tour in mind at all. Oh. It started off purely, let's get some music done together. And we started doing, and there's a lot of stuff we've been working on, but, the tour just kind of crept up and has smacked us between the ears, and it turns out, oh my God, we're going on tour tomorrow, and
right.
we're nowhere near ready with this stuff, and which is really a problem, because we are so excited about it, but it's just not ready, and we don't want to play anything which isn't ready, and B, even if it was ready, is it going to be on YouTube the next day without any kind of real quality given to presenting it properly.
Right.
One of the problems of the day, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So now you find yourselves with a tour around the corner and having to go back and, I guess, run through, I can't even imagine how many songs, and try to pick what to play and relearn things. So what's been the challenges there, and have you decided what songs you're even playing?
Well, one of the challenges was when Rick, John, and I came up with ideas for the set list. The show landed up at, I think, 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, and so we've condensed it down to a reasonable amount of time. It's still too long, but I'd rather have people complain about it being too long than too short, to be honest. Although a lot of people say let them leave wanting more, But it's going to be a little long, but I think it's going to be pretty powerful. And a lot of the songs, particularly the old songs, we're really going to try and find new ways of approaching them, but not in a way where they're obscure or abstract or anything. Just really powerful new ways of presenting them.
Very cool. Can fans expect stuff from your era? Things from 90125, I'm sure, but Talk albums and things like that.
Well, there's talk of a couple of tracks from Talk. There's obviously we're doing a lot from 90125. There's a couple of songs we're thinking about from Big Generator as well. The song Shoot High Aim Low we're going to do. Some others we're not quite sure about. There's just so much material to choose from,
Yeah. Oh, Shoot High Aim Low is one of my favorites. That would be amazing to hear.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, we're doing that.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you first got together to rehearse, what kind of emotions or feelings or surprises happened that had to have been sort of an interesting first rehearsal?
Well, the big surprise is we haven't started yet.
Oh, you really are late.
It's quite amazing. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff we've had to prepare. I haven't been on the road for 20 years, so when I got back to setting up my gear and everything and getting ready for it, it was, I don't really like the way this sounds, and almost a question of, oh God, is that what I sounded like?
Well, those are the questions I had for you. Was you had a unique guitar sound. Part of it was this sort of high, tinny, clean solo sound, which I'm explaining terribly. But when you had to go back and find those different tones and different effects that we're using, did you have to scramble to figure out where those were and which ones you used on which songs?
Well, it was the weird thing is I go back and listen to the records and I'm quite happy with the sound, and even some of the live shows I'm happy with the sound. But when I set my stuff up and started playing through it, it was like I don't know what's happened, but it doesn't sound the same. So I really threw it all out and started from scratch. So I've spent a long time getting a whole new system together, which is, I guess, very cutting edge, and but that's what I think part of the preparation is, and I know Rick is spending ages getting a really state-of-the-art new keyboard rig. By the time we start rehearsal, which is in a couple of weeks, I think we're just going to be able to go in there and play this stuff.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was, I'm assuming you'll play Owner of a Lonely Heart, which is sort of this legendary, iconic song at this point. And the stories behind that song are legendary, how it was this song that everybody seemed to know was going to be a hit and essentially started Yes coming back, right?
Right.
So, when you look back on that, are you surprised that how that song really did become what it was meant to become and is still to this day, immensely powerful?
Well, I don't think anyone realized that the song would kind of drag the album to the place it went, which was, selling a lot of copies and being widely accepted. But I certainly was very confident from day one that something was going to happen. Before I joined Yes, I actually sent Own of a Lonely Heart, along with, most of the stuff that turned up on 91 to 5 as demos I had, and I sent it to Arista, to Clive Davis, and I still have the letter from his office saying, while we feel your voice has top 40 appeal, we feel your song Own of a Lonely Heart is way too left field for the marketplace today.
Of course.
And if I remember correctly, when it went to number one, I sent him a photograph of the chart position, kind of facetiously,
That's awesome. I read recently this book on the history of Yes, and were you originally either considered or someone wanted you to be part of Asia? Was that something that happened?
Well, I was with Geffen Records, and one of the things that out of the blue, I was told, we love the music, but you wanting to do a solo album, we want you to join a band, and we've got these guys, John Wetton, and who I love, John Wetton, and Carl Palmer, who I'd been meeting with to get into a band together, and then these other two guys, Jeff Downs and Steve Howe, and we want you to get together and join them. And I said, I got no interest in doing that. That's not what I'm about at all. And my manager came to me and said, look, unless you do this, Geffen's going to drop you. They've spent 6 months on a development deal for you to write music, and it's not like you're not writing. You're writing furiously, but they've got something here that they think with your songs there that this would be a powerful thing. And I was kind of pressured into going to London and rehearsing with them, which I did for a couple of days, and then went to the manager and said, look, I don't care if Geffen dropped me. It's just I really don't want to. I have no interest in doing this. So I came back to L.A. thinking, not really believing the company would drop me, but they did. They said, if you don't join this band, you're dropped. So I was dropped.
Wow, music business. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty ruthless.
Talk a little bit about the touring band. A few of the names came out of the guys that are going to be with you on tour. How'd you pick those guys, and what are they going to be doing?
Well, Lee Pomeroy is just a phenomenal bass player from London. And I've been obviously conversing with him for the last couple of months, and we get on like a house on fire. And but he was recommended by Rick. Rick's been playing with him a lot, and Rick said right from the start, "This is the best bass player I've ever played with," which was quite a statement because he's played with some good guys. And so that's the bass player, and then the drummer is a guy who. Lou Molina, who actually plays on Can't Look Away, and
right.
has been playing with me since 1988. It's long time. Whenever there was this, would it be him or the only other person that was considered asking was Vinny Colaiuta, who I think is one of the greatest drummers ever.
Absolutely.
But John met Lou, and everyone felt comfortable with Lou, and I really loved playing with Lou, so he became the drummer. And then Gary Canberra was a guy who was with the Tubes for a long time, and Lou had worked with him and recommended him, and I looked into him pretty seriously, and he just met with him, and he just is so musical and just plays great guitar, keyboards, and does it all really well. So I think we got a really, really tight unit.
Absolutely. I'm curious about your thoughts on the music industry now. Not that you left it, but doing soundtracks is a different world, obviously, and coming back and playing this music or returning to pop or prog, whatever you want to call it. How do you see the music industry now, and have you sort of followed the trends and bands that are out? You keep part of any of that?
Well, I personally haven't really kept very, very much involved in it because, the movies have taken up so much time. I mean, I've done some songs, although I do the scores, there's a lot of occasions where I've been asked to do songs for the actual movie I'm doing the score for. And I've done. I wrote a couple of songs with Bryan Adams and Mutt Lange for a song for National Treasure, which I did the score for, but they ended up not choosing the song. And then I wrote a song based on my themes of the film with Bryan Adams, and we did a song for The Guardian. And then I wrote material with Alicia Keys, and she came into the studio, and we spent a couple of weeks together on a movie called Glory. Is it Glory Road? I think it was Glory Road.
Right.
But outside of that, I really hadn't been involved in the record business. And even that, it wasn't really the record business, as it was just working with artists. And but my son is in a very successful band called Group Love. They're really great, and they're so good live, and the records are doing really well. So just, I've been looking at it from a dad's point of view, and boy, it's a very different place.
Yeah, I mean, the downloads and the streaming and all that. I mean, you must be thrilled that you got into it when you did.
Oh yeah, and I'm concerned for my son, but he did a really smart thing. He was in a band, and they were actually touring and doing pretty well. And he just came to me one night. He's a phenomenal drummer, and he produces. And he said, "I want to stop touring and go to USC." Go to university and get my degree, and who was I to say no, so I was very, very supportive of that, and he went to USC. He got a music degree, which, he covered things like Pro Tools, studio engineering, the business of the music business, which covering publishing and all aspects of it. So he's really gone into it in the right way. He really understands the marketplace today and what it does. So
sure.
He knows what to do, and he's really, really smart with it. Me, on the other hand, having not followed it, I have no clue what we're getting into.
Of course. Have you, John has been super active musically, releasing a couple of things this past year. Have you checked out the Invention of Knowledge album? Have you had a chance to listen to it?
No, I haven't heard that. That's the thing he did with a guy from Switzerland?
Yeah, from a band called the Flower Kings. His name's Roy Nastolt, a great guitar player, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've heard about it. John played me one very early thing of it, but I've just been so busy with this and tying up all the movie stuff, I haven't actually had a chance to hear it.
So, last question. Any chance? I heard also rumors of that you were working on a solo album again. I think you might have posted something somewhere about it. Is that still happening, or I'm obviously much later with this coming up?
Well, the great thing that's happened, hopefully a great thing. I did an instrumental album recently in between doing film scores, and which I really enjoyed doing. And that made me think, I really got to do another rock, stroke, pop, whatever you want to call it, with vocals on, and do another, another Can't Look Away, if you like. And
sure.
So I've been really seriously thinking about it. But once this thing came up with ARW, and my guitar's back in my hands, and I'm really thinking that way, that's definitely going to happen, and sooner rather than later.
Very exciting.
In fact, I've actually... I've recently parted with my agents. I told them I'm not going to require an agent right now, and so I fired my agent. And in doing so, because I said to them, I'm taking a hiatus, and I'm not sure when I definitely don't want to stop doing film scores, but for the foreseeable future, I don't see myself doing a score for quite some time.
Well, good. I guess good. Selfishly, Trevor, it's been a pleasure. I can't tell you again. I just pulled out "Can't Look Away" yesterday to listen to it a little bit, and "Promises" and "Eyes of Love" and all that stuff. I love that. One of my favorite albums again. So thank you so much for the time. I will see you on tour. You guys are kicking off your tour October 4th in Orlando, running through November 29th. In Portland, and then after that next year you have your European tour, so you guys are going to be busy.
Correct. Well, where will you be, Roy? Are you going to be in Orlando? Or?
I am the second show, actually, as Fort Lauderdale, so I will
you got to come back and say hi. We'll have a beer or something.
Absolutely. And Trevor, thanks again, man. A pleasure.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.
I'd like to thank Trevor for the interview. For more information on the ARW Tour, visit arw-tour.com. For other information and interviews, please check theprogreport.com. Follow us on Facebook, @The Prog Report on Twitter, or download the podcast on iTunes. Thanks.